5. Clairvoyance, seeing beyond the present. Introduction to clairvoyance. The ability to see what is not readily available to the traditional senses is fascinating and mysterious, a concept that has enthralled human minds for centuries. Although it is found in many cultures and spiritual traditions, it is the French term clairvoyance, literally a clear sight, that has captured the collective imagination. This ability refers to the ability to obtain information about an object, person, place, or event through extrasensory means. Many cases of alleged clairvoyance involve perceiving events at a distance. For example, a person might see a loved one in danger thousands of miles away, or an investigator might locate a missing person by mentally visualizing their whereabouts. This remote viewing ability is one of the most common and widely accepted forms of clairvoyance, well documented through numerous anecdotes and historical cases. However, clairvoyance can also take on more complex and multifaceted forms. Some claim that they can see the past, as if they are able to relive events that took place years or even centuries ago. Others claim to have visions of the future, predictions, or premonitions that come true in surprising ways. Importantly, despite its prevalence in cultures around the world, clairvoyance remains a largely misunderstood phenomenon. Modern science struggles to explain how it works or why some people seem to have it while others don't. This is why, in our exploration of clairvoyance, it is essential to address the topic with a balanced approach, which takes into account both personal experiences and testimonies, and the need for rigorous scientific investigation. As we delve into the world of clairvoyance, we will also be interested in distinguishing between the various types of extrasensory visions. In the next section, remote visions versus premonitions, we will examine the difference between these two common forms of perception beyond the ordinary limits of the senses, trying to better understand the complex reality of this phenomenon. Remote viewing versus premonitions. In the world of extrasensory perception, it is common to classify experiences into specific categories for better understanding. Among the different forms of clairvoyance, two of the most discussed are remote visions and premonitions. These differ mainly according to their relationship with time and space. Remote viewings, sometimes called remote viewing, involve acquiring information about places, objects, or people that are beyond the range of the normal senses. For example, a clairvoyant might be able to describe a locked room or geographically remote place in detail without ever having seen them before. This phenomenon is closely related to telepathy and psychometry, and is thought to be possible due to the universal connection between all things. Premonitions, on the other hand, involve acquiring information about the future. These can be detailed visions of future events, or simple intuitive feelings that something is about to happen. Sometimes, premonitions are associated with dreams or trance states, while other times they can occur spontaneously in daily life. The distinction between distant visions and premonitions is not always clear-cut. In some cases, clairvoyants may have visions of future events in distant places, combining elements of both categories. This makes understanding and classifying these experiences a complex and nuanced task. However, understanding these differences can help us better understand the various forms of clairvoyance and understand how these skills can be used or developed. Every experience is unique, and just like the physical senses, extrasensory abilities can vary greatly between people. Continuing with the analysis, in the next paragraph, Clairvoyance in History, we will explore the historical roots of clairvoyance, examining how the understanding of this phenomenon has evolved over time and how it has been interpreted in different cultures. 5.3 Clairvoyance in History. Phenomena of extrasensory perception, such as clairvoyance, have a significant place in the cultural heritage of mankind. From antiquity to the present day, there are numerous accounts of individuals appearing to have access to information outside the normal range of the five senses. Ancient civilizations, such as those of Greece and Rome, had oracles and seers believed to be able to communicate with the gods and see future events. An example is the oracle at Delphi, which was famous throughout the ancient world for its predictions. Even in Native American cultures, shamans and healers were often believed to be capable of distant visions or premonitions. These phenomena are not limited to a specific era or culture. Even in the modern era, there have been many people who have reported having clairvoyant experiences. Edgar Cayce, known as the Sleeping Prophet, is a famous example of an individual who experienced detailed visions of future events, medical solutions, and distant places while in trance states. Many of the historical testimonies on clairvoyance have an anecdotal nature and, therefore, can be disputed from a scientific point of view. However, there is no denying the fact that clairvoyance experiences have profoundly impacted the lives of many people and continue to influence our understanding of the world and our place in it. In the light of these historical considerations, the next section, Casuistry and Testimonies, will examine further known cases of clairvoyance. This discussion will provide an opportunity to explore individual and personal experiences, illustrating how these skills can manifest themselves in daily life and how they can influence the lives of those who possess them. Case history and testimonials. Examining individual experiences, it emerges that the clairvoyant ability can manifest itself in many different ways and affect the lives of those who possess it to varying degrees. For example, in 1914, a woman named Anne Moberly reported experiencing a phenomenon known as a slippage while visiting the Palace of Versailles. According to his account, Moberly had a vision of people and places that looked like they belonged in the 18th century. This story had a considerable media coverage, highlighting the potential and mysteries of clairvoyance. Another example is the famous American psychic, Jean Dixon, who was famously known for her predictions. One of his most famous statements involved the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, which Dixon claimed he foresaw. While her predictions were not always accurate, her supporters regarded her as an important example of clairvoyance. However, it is important to note that most claims of clairvoyance are anecdotal and, therefore, difficult to verify scientifically. This does not diminish the importance of individual experiences, but underscores the need for deeper inquiry and more rigorous analysis. While these stories are fascinating, the question of visions that seem to arise spontaneously versus those that are intentionally induced needs to be addressed. In the next paragraph, Spontaneous and Induced Visions, we will explore the differences between these two categories to understand if there are specific ways to access this mysterious type of knowledge. The question will arise whether clairvoyance may be a natural gift or whether it is a skill that can be developed and refined with practice. Spontaneous and Induced Visions. Analyzing the modalities of manifestation of clairvoyance, it is possible to identify two main types of visions: those that arise without an apparent control on the part of the individual and those that, instead, are intentionally induced. The first type of visions are those that seem to appear spontaneously, without conscious effort. These visions may be vivid images presented to the mind's eye, physical or emotional sensations, or simple knowledge that does not appear to derive from a physical source. An example of this phenomenon would be a person who has a sudden intuition about a future event or a distant place, without any logical reason or obvious cause. Induced visions, on the other hand, are those that the individual attempts to bring about through specific practices or meditation techniques. These techniques can include visualization, meditation, hypnotic regression, and the use of tools such as crystals or tarot cards. An example may be an individual who focuses on a specific object or person, trying to see information or events related to it. Regardless of how visions manifest, it is important to note that they can have a significant impact on the lives of those who experience them, potentially offering new perspectives and insights. However, these experiences can also lead to confusion or anxiety, particularly if you are unable to control or interpret them correctly. Of course, the question that arises spontaneously is, are there methods to develop these skills? Can we learn to induce visions, rather than waiting for them to occur spontaneously? In the next section, Methods of Developing Clairvoyant Ability, we will attempt to answer these questions by exploring the techniques that have been proposed for cultivating and refining clairvoyant ability. Methods of development of clairvoyant abilities. Starting from the assumption that clairvoyance is an innate ability in each of us, many argue that it is possible to develop or refine this competence through different techniques and practices. These include meditation, guided visualizations, the use of tools such as crystals or tarot cards, and working with subtle energies. Among the most widespread techniques, meditation plays a fundamental role. Through relaxation and silence of the mind, it may be possible to tune into the subtler frequencies of reality, allowing one's awareness to expand beyond physical limits. For example, a practitioner might meditate by visualizing a ball of light expanding from their body, touching and sensing distant places. Guided views are another popular method. In this case, the individual follows a specific narrative, often recorded, which directs his attention to specific images or sensations. An example of guided visualization might involve imagining that you are traveling in a tunnel of light, at the end of which you can see a specific event or place. The use of tools such as crystals or tarot cards can serve as a catalyst for clairvoyance visions. For example, by looking intently at a crystal, one can relax the mind until images or sensations emerge. Similarly, tarot cards can stimulate the subconscious mind, allowing access to normally hidden information. Work with subtle energies, such as Reiki or energy healing, can also aid in the development of clairvoyant abilities. In fact, these practices require a high sensitivity to subtle energies, a quality that can be linked to clairvoyance. Although widespread, these techniques are subject to debate and there is no scientific consensus on their effectiveness. In the next section, Scientific Research and Recent Findings, we'll look at how far science has tried to verify these claims, and what its findings have been about them. Scientific research and recent discoveries. Despite the controversy surrounding clairvoyance, science has tried to approach the subject with an objective and evidence-based approach. Some studies have been conducted in an attempt to evaluate the existence of this paranormal ability. For example, controlled experiments have sought to determine whether people can acquire information about distant places or future events in the absence of any known sensory input. A notable example is the US government-funded Project Stargate during the Cold War, which sought to use psi abilities, including clairvoyance, for intelligence purposes. Despite some anecdotal findings suggesting such capabilities, the project was later aborted due to a lack of concrete evidence and the difficulty of obtaining consistent results. More recently, research has begun to explore the possibility that clairvoyance may be linked to known but poorly understood phenomena, such as extrasensory perception (ESP) or synchronicity. For example, some neuroscience studies have suggested that the human brain may be able to perceive future events before they happen, an ability known as a precognition. However, while these researches are intriguing, they are still in the preliminary stages and there is no consensus in the scientific community regarding their conclusions. Some of the most recent discoveries in neuroscience and quantum physics are breaking new ground that could, in the future, provide a scientific basis for phenomena such as clairvoyance. For example, the concept of a quantum entanglement, which describes how two particles can remain instantaneously connected despite their distance, could offer a model for understanding how perception can extend beyond the limits of space and time. Despite these discoveries, it is important to point out that scientific research on clairvoyance is still in a very early stage and many of the findings are still subject to debate. Many scientists remain skeptical and argue that the evidence for clairvoyance is weak and inconsistent. In the next section, Alternative and Critical Theories, we will explore some of the more common objections and alternative theories that have been proposed to explain the phenomena associated with clairvoyance. Alternative and Critical Theories. In any scientific pursuit, it is important to consider criticisms and alternative theories. This is especially true in the case of clairvoyance, a field that has attracted a broad spectrum of opinion, many of them skeptical. The main criticisms focus on the lack of tangible evidence, the difficulties of repeatability of the experiments, and the presence of possible more rational explanations for the reported experiences. For example, one of the most common criticisms concerns the use of scientific methods to study clairvoyance. Many underline the difficulty of conducting controlled and repeatable experiments in this area, arguing that many studies are influenced by methodological errors or subjective interpretations of the results. Furthermore, the problem has been raised of the lack of a clear theoretical model explaining how clairvoyance might work in terms of known physical laws. Another frequent criticism is the lack of physical or biological evidence to support the idea of clairvoyance. While some research suggests areas of the brain that are particularly active during paranormal experiences, these findings are still far from conclusive. Finally, there are those who argue that clairvoyance experiences can best be explained by more conventional theories. For example, some people may have heightened awareness of their surroundings, an especially sharp memory, or an ability to detect patterns that give the impression of paranormal insight. Others suggest that clairvoyant experiences may be the result of psychological processes such as self-delusion or the tendency to remember events that confirm our beliefs while forgetting those that contradict them, a phenomenon known as confirmation bias. While these critiques and alternative theories are important, they do not negate the importance of further exploring human capabilities and the boundaries of our understanding of reality. The fact that there are still many unanswered questions underlines the importance of continuing research in this field. In the next section, Clairvoyance in the 21st Century, we will examine how new technologies and scientific discoveries could affect the way we view and understand clairvoyance in the near future. If you've come this far, it means you've enjoyed our journey into the fascinating world of clairvoyance. Remember, your every gesture of support helps us produce more quality content like this. So, if you haven't already, please click like and subscribe to our channel. In this way, you will be able to stay up to date on new episodes and you will help us grow. Thanks for your support. See you in the next video.